Why do the deepest, like the absolute most devastating scars come from the most elite, tight-knit groups?
Yeah, that really is the question, isn't it?
I mean, I really want you to just sit with that for a second. You grow up believing the monsters are outside the gates, right?
Yeah.
You're taught to fear the dark alleys, the strangers.
Right, exactly. The unknown.
Yeah, the unknown. But what happens when the monster literally has a key to your front door?
hmm
What happens when the monster is, wearing your own team's colors?
It completely shatters your entire framework of reality because, well, we are biologically wired to seek safety in numbers, to find a tribe.
Yeah.
But when that tribe turns into this, like, completely closed loop, the rules of human behavior just warp. Survival isn't about fighting the outside world anymore.
It's an inside job.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It turns into this terrifying game of surviving the people sitting right next to you at the dinner table.
Which is exactly where we are going today. We are taking a deep dive into a world that looks, flawless from the outside. The source material we're unpacking today is a book called Power Play by Alley Ciz.
And it's a fascinating piece of work.
It really is. Now, look, if you just glance at the cover, you are going to think this is a super straightforward story about college hockey. You see the classic tropes, you see the romance, the fierce sibling loyalty, the hot athletes.
And I mean, you could absolutely just read it on that surface level and totally enjoy it.
You could, but we are definitely not going to do that today. The author, Alley Ciz, she's actually a former competitive swimmer. She intimately understands the invisible, suffocating architecture of elite sports.
Yeah, the microsociology of it all.
Exactly. And hidden inside this seemingly simple story is a brilliant, genuinely terrifying microsociological blueprint.
It really is a masterclass in behavioral mechanics. Like, we are looking at the literal anatomy of trauma shock, the unseen architecture of power dynamics, and the brutal, often super messy mechanics of how a group actually heals.
We are going to strip this narrative down to the absolute studs, because here is the anti-common sense reality we really want to expose today. We're going to show you how the very rules designed to protect you are actually the exact things building your prison.
It's a huge paradigm shift.
Oh, massive. We're going to unpack how a seemingly random sports statistic like a .957 save percentage can literally translate into an impenetrable personal trauma boundary.
And, perhaps most surprisingly, we'll look at how a simple, lazy afternoon in a backyard hammock can completely cure 2 years of relentless, agonizing night terrors.
I mean, it sounds totally impossible. It sounds like fiction.
Right. It sounds totally counterintuitive, but it is pure human physics. It is exactly how our nervous systems actually operate when pushed to the absolute brink.
But listen, you cannot understand the trap you are in until you map the architecture of the empire that built it. So let's start right there. Let's talk about the empire.
Okay, so elite circles are dangerous precisely because they are elite. I mean, they don't just demand your talent. They don't just want your time on the ice or the field. They demand your total, absolute psychological surrender.
So in our source material, we are looking at a college hockey team, the Brighton Times University Titans. But I want to be very clear here. You cannot think of them as just a team. That word is way too soft. Think of them as a closed empire.
Closed empire. That is the perfect phrase for it.
Right. Because they live together in the hockey house, they bleed together on the ice, they party together at a VIP sports bar called Rookies. They operate on this terrifying 100% team loyalty metric.
Yeah, let's hover on that 100% loyalty metric for a second because it is so critical to understanding the impending disaster here.
Go for it.
In a normal, healthy social circle, you have escape valves.
Right.
Like, you have your work friends, your gym friends, your family, your neighbors. Your life is basically a Venn diagram with multiple overlapping circles.
Exactly. If you have a massive fight with a coworker, you can go vent to your college roommate. You have a pressure release.
Right. But in a closed empire, the Venn diagram is just a single, solid, terrifying circle. Every single relationship you have is tethered to this one central hub.
There is zero escape valve.
None. It creates a dynamic that sociologists often refer to as a black box contract.
I was reading about this black box contract in the notes before we started, and it immediately made me think of a deep-sea submarine.
Oh, interesting. Tell me more about that.
Okay, so imagine you are living in a submarine at the bottom of the Mariana Trench. You think you are completely safe because the hull is 3 feet of solid titanium, right? It keeps the crushing infinite ocean completely out.
Okay, I'm with you.
Your brothers built this submarine. Your best friends are the crew. You're protected from all the monsters outside. But, and this is the terrifying part, What happens when the internal pressure shifts even a fraction?
The danger changes.
Exactly. What happens when a toxic gas leaks inside the cabin? Suddenly, the very titanium walls that were designed to protect you from the ocean are the exact things trapping the poison inside with you. The hull is literally what kills you.
Wow. That is a deeply visceral way to look at it, but it is entirely accurate. The submarine isn't keeping the danger out anymore. It is actively locking you in with it.
It's a trap.
It is. The black box contract means the rules of the outside world morality, institutional law, basic individual safety, they no longer apply inside the box. Inside the Empire, loyalty to the group supersedes absolutely everything else.
And if a member of the Empire does something truly terrible, the group's instinct isn't to seek justice. The instinct is just to plug the leak, to protect the hull, to keep the box closed at all costs.
So let's look at the core players actually trapped inside the specific submarine.
Right. At the center, we have Jordan. She is the sister. She is deeply, inescapably embedded in this world.
And why is that?
Because of her brothers. We have Ryan, who is the team captain, the ultimate authority figure. And we have Jace, who isn't just a tough defenseman, but he also happens to be Jordan's twin. And both of these brothers are fiercely, almost violently protective of her.
They are the ultimate insiders. They wear the uniform, they hold the power, which naturally makes Jordan an insider by proxy. But mathematically speaking, that is an incredibly dangerous position to hold.
Wait, mathematically, because she doesn't actually have the armor.
Exactly. She is totally vulnerable because she doesn't wear the uniform herself. She doesn't have the ultimate protection of being a drafted soldier in the Empire. She is just an appendage to it.
So she's protected, but only conditionally.
Yes. She's protected only as long as the men in power actively agree to protect her.
And then we introduce the pathogen into the submarine. Tommy Bradford.
Tommy, the star forward, the absolute golden boy of the Titans, and critically for our discussion today, Jordan's boyfriend. Or, well, he was.
Let's walk through the inciting incident, because this is the exact moment the toxic gas completely fills the cabin. Jordan catches Tommy cheating on her.
A total breach of trust.
It is the ultimate, undeniable betrayal. So she confronts him, she tries to walk away, she physically tries to break free from his grip, and right there, in that split second, his absolute control over her is threatened.
This right here is the exact trigger for the control asymmetry model.
I was looking at this model on the outline, and the math of it is just chilling.
It really is. In any closed social system, power is almost never perfectly balanced. When power becomes concentrated entirely in one person, in this case Tommy, who possesses sheer physical dominance, massive social capital as a star player, and the pure arrogance of the golden boy.
He has everything.
Right. And because he has everything, that person requires absolute submission from their partner just to maintain their equilibrium.
He literally needs the power dynamic to stay at 99% to 1%.
Precisely. So when Jordan tries to walk away, when she tries to just pull her arm out of his grasp, she isn't just ending a standard college romance.
No, it's bigger than that.
In Tommy's mind, she is causing a massive seismic shift in autonomy. She is actively attempting to reclaim her percentage of control.
And his system simply cannot handle the shift.
The system violently self-corrects. When the golden boy feels his control slipping from 99% to even, like 90%, it triggers catastrophic violence. He doesn't just argue with her. He doesn't just yell. He physically shoves her down a flight of stairs.
It is a brutal, near-fatal assault. She suffers a severely dislocated shoulder. She is knocked completely unconscious. It isn't a scuffle. It's a complete eradication.
He pushed her to reset the math. If he cannot entirely control her, she cannot be allowed to exist in his empire.
And this is where the sheer horror of the black box contract truly reveals itself. When Jordan is falling down those stairs, she isn't just falling away from Tommy.
No, she's falling away from everything.
She is realizing that her entire life is tethered to the guy pushing her. Think about it. Her brothers play with him. Her friends adore him. Her entire social ecosystem is wrapped completely around the fist of her abuser.
And so the coach kicks Tommy off the team. He is expelled. He is officially cast out of the Empire.
Which, logically, you would think solves the problem, right? You cut out the tumor. The patient should be totally fine. The bad man is gone. Everyone can just go back to normal.
But that is a fundamental misunderstanding of how ecosystems actually work. I mean, cutting out a massive tumor doesn't mean the body doesn't immediately go into severe systemic shock.
I actually want to push back on this a little bit, or at least I want to play devil's advocate here.
Sure, go ahead.
You're telling me an entire elite university hockey team like literal championship contenders just completely collapsed because one single player got kicked out. I mean, teams trade star players all the time. Professional sports are built entirely on replacing guys who get injured or traded. What is the actual mechanism making them fall apart here?
It is a totally fair question. If this were just a standard professional business transaction, yeah, they would replace him and move on. But remember, this isn't a business, it's a closed empire. Every single gear relies on the other, both emotionally and tactically.
Okay, so it's not just a simple roster change.
Far from it. When Tommy is expelled for nearly killing the captain's sister, they don't just lose a high-scoring forward, they lose their entire tactical chain. They lose their trust in each other. The team suffers a massive ecological backlash.
The ecological backlash.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yes, the players' focus is entirely pulled. The locker room is suddenly full of suspicion and paranoia. The seniors, who are heavily banking on a championship for their pro-draft prospects, silently resent the massive disruption. Their win rate absolutely plummets the following year. They become a fundamentally broken system. The tumor is gone, but the organs are actively failing.
And Jordan feels this. She isn't blind. She can see the collateral damage everywhere. She feels subconsciously responsible for breaking the machine. Her trauma wasn't just physical. It was the crushing guilt of being the catalyst that destroyed her brother's world.
So what does she do?
She goes into full, extreme trauma shock.
She essentially erases her own existence.
She totally erases herself. She changes her social media accounts to private. Not for a week, not for a month. For 2 entire years.
Wow.
She transfers to NYU just to get completely out of the blast radius. When she has to interact with the hockey team online for gaming or group chats or whatever, she hides her gender. She goes by the initials JD. She refuses to let any new players on the roster even know she exists as a living, breathing woman. 2 years of absolute suffocating silence.
It is a profound textbook survival response. She makes herself a ghost.
Yep.
But it's vital to recognize here that she isn't just hiding from Tommy anymore. Tommy is gone.
Right. She is hiding from the Empire itself.
Exactly. She knows the environment is inherently toxic. She knows the submarine is filled with gas, even if the guy who opened the valve was literally thrown overboard.
But here is the tragic part of all this.
Yeah.
She can't completely sever the tie because she has the bloodline sensory radar.
Ah, yes. The author uses this concept of the twin connection.
Right. Jace and Jordan have this intense, almost telepathic ESP. It's a classic fiction trope, obviously. Jace can instantly sense when she's near. He can sense when she's in danger. There's this one scene where she walks into the VIP bar, and before Jace even turns around, he just announces, JD's here. It's a twin thing.
Obviously, real twin telepathy is a fictional construct, but we shouldn't dismiss it as just like magic. Let's look at the real-world equivalent of this trope, because it points to a very real psychological phenomenon.
Oh, you mean hypervigilance?
Yes. When someone you deeply love is horribly abused, you develop this unnatural, exhausting hyperattunement to them. You read their microexpressions, you track their breathing patterns, you know when their text messages sound slightly off.
You become a walking radar.
Exactly. It isn't magic. It is an incredibly stressful biological alarm system born out of pure trauma.
And because Jay-Z's alarm system is constantly ringing, it forces the Empire to try and fix the vulnerability. The brothers see the immense damage Tommy caused. They see Jordan hiding as a digital ghost. So in their infinite wisdom as alpha males, they institute an absolute boundary. They enact the infamous sister ban.
Ah, yes, the sister ban.
A golden rule of locker rooms literally everywhere. Never, ever touch a teammate's sister. But Ryan and Jace take it to a totally militant extreme. Jordan is literally forced to explicitly promise her brothers that she will never date another hockey player. She will never date a teammate again.
Now, from the brothers' perspective, this sounds like love. It sounds like the ultimate form of protection.
Sure.
But sociologically, clinically, this is known as social lock-in.
Okay, I actually have a massive problem with the brothers here. Because I look at the sister band and I do not see protection at all. I see an atrophied cast.
Walk me through that, an atrophied cast.
Yeah. It's like putting a super heavy plaster cast on a broken arm. Okay, you break your arm falling down the stairs, you go to the doctor, they reset the bone, they put a cast on it. And yes, in the immediate aftermath, it absolutely protects the fractured bone while it knits back together. It serves a vital purpose.
Right, it creates a safe space to heal. But
if you are so utterly terrified of breaking that arm again that you leave the heavy plaster cast on for 2 years, the muscle underneath completely dies. It atrophies. The arm becomes a useless, withered appendage.
yeah.
The cure literally becomes the new disease. The brothers thought they were putting a cast on her heart, but they were actually just paralyzing her.
Yeah, that is a phenomenal analogy. The sister band is an atrophied cast. We naturally assume rules made out of love keep us safe. But Jordan's 2 years of silence weren't just about hiding from a violent ex-boyfriend. They were a systemic isolation imposed by her own defenders.
It cuts her off from her natural support system.
Completely. By explicitly banning her from engaging romantically or even deeply with anyone in her immediate social sphere, which is really the only sphere she knows, they are functionally quarantining her.
They're locking her in a tower.
They are ensuring she remains entirely alone. They force her to view every single male in her proximity not as a potential partner or even a friend, but as a walking, breathing threat to her family's fragile peace.
Which is so messed up when you really think about it.
Yeah.
The abusers isolate you by force, and the protectors isolate you by policy. But the final result is exactly the same. You are just alone in a room.
The trap of protection.
So Jordan builds this massive fortress. She stays away at NYU. She stays quiet online. She completely honors the band. She keeps the cast on. But then, as it always inevitably does, the physics of her universe shift. Because what happens when you build a massive wall, but the very gravity of your neighborhood pulls a new massive force right past your carefully constructed defenses.
This is the illusion of the retreat. You think moving back home makes you safe. You think returning to the nest is the ultimate defensive maneuver. But sometimes, without even realizing it, you are stepping right into the dead center of a new gravity well.
Let's talk about the raw injustice that drives her back home in the first place.
Yeah.
Because we haven't even mentioned what happened to Tommy legally, and honestly, it will make your blood boil.
Right. The stark realities of class privilege.
Tommy pushed a woman down a flight of stairs. He dislocated her shoulder, knocked her totally unconscious, and quite literally could have killed her if she had hit her head differently. And his punishment for this near-fatal assault.
Well, his father is a high-powered, highly connected, extremely wealthy lawyer.
Exactly. So Tommy, the golden boy, gets a fine. A literal monetary fine. And 2 years of probation. That is it. He doesn't see a single day in a jail cell.
This is a crucial sociological contrast we really have to highlight. We rely on institutional law to provide a baseline boundary of safety. We inherently believe the justice system acts as our ultimate shield against the monsters.
But it doesn't.
No, because when class privilege and immense wealth enter the equation, institutional law shrinks. It evaporates entirely. It leaves the victim utterly exposed, realizing that the rules simply do not apply to the elite.
The law failed her completely. The institutional shield was literally made of paper. So she has to rely on physical geography instead. 2 years pass. She decides to transfer back to BTU. She moves back in with her parents. She genuinely thinks she is finally safe. Her parents bought a brand new house in a new neighborhood. It's a completely clean slate.
But here are the neighborhood mechanics at play. By sheer, unadulterated cosmic coincidence, the house her parents buy is right next door to the new star goalie of the Titans.
Jake Donovan.
Jake.
He's the guy who basically put the team on his back and led the Titans to the NCAA championship while Jordan was away hiding in New York. And suddenly, by a wild twist of real estate fate, her bedroom window is a mere 50 feet away from his.
We need to analyze Jake very carefully here because Jake represents the exact opposite of the institutional failure we just talked about.
Oh, absolutely.
The law totally failed her, but Jake represents the raw individual power of the .957 barrier.
The .957 barrier. I have to say, when I was reading the source material, this was the concept that totally blew my mind. I love how this random sports statistic is translated into a complete psychological profile.
It is a brilliant framing device. During the NCAA championship run, Jake faced an absolute onslaught of attacks on his net, and he stopped almost all of them. He held an elite .957 save percentage. That means he successfully stopped 95.7% of the high-speed, chaotic, unpredictable threats directed at him.
But it isn't just a number, is it? It's his entire psychology.
Exactly. A goalie's mentality is entirely unique in sports. Think about Tommy. Tommy is a forward. Forwards attack. They take territory. They aggressively push forward to conquer.
Right.
Goalies do the exact opposite. Goalies establish perimeter. They track threats. They anticipate chaos. They absorb violent impact specifically to protect the space behind them. Jake's entire psychological framework, his very identity, is built on establishing safety and making saves.
And now, this deeply traumatized girl who was entirely failed by the attackers of the world is living exactly 50 feet away from the ultimate savior.
This extreme physical proximity creates what we call an emotional gravity field.
Okay, but she has the sister ban in place. She literally promised her brothers. She is terrified of breaking the rules again. How does a gravity field override a strict established boundary?
Because the sister band is merely an artificial construct. It is a social rule spoken out loud. But an emotional gravity field, that is a force of nature.
Right. You just can't legislate gravity.
No, you can't. When you put two highly compatible, fiercely protective individuals, one who desperately needs a shield, and one who essentially exists to be a shield just 50 feet apart, the daily mundane intimacy begins to warp space and time around them.
It's the little things.
Exactly. They share a cup of coffee on the porch. They see each other bleary-eyed at 6 a.m. The heavy plaster cast of the protective sister band is rendered completely useless against the relentless, quiet, daily pull of proximity.
I was reading this and thinking, you can't engineer love, but you absolutely can engineer proximity. It's unavoidable. It's like a slow-motion collision course. She built this massive, impenetrable wall to keep all the bad men out, to keep the predators far away. But she accidentally built that wall entirely around the one guy who can completely dismantle it from the inside.
It is the reversed Trojan horse.
Yes, the Trojan horse, but upside down. She pulled him inside her walls, thinking he was just a friendly neighbor. But the ultimate defender is already inside the gates.
The threat isn't an attacking army anymore. The quote-unquote threat to her isolation is radical safety. He is already inside her perimeter, simply by existing next door.
But the physical proximity to Jake is only half the battle. Jake is the physical shield. But the physical world isn't the only world that matters anymore, is it? The walls Jordan built are about to be breached digitally.
The modern horror.
Yeah, and then, after the digital breach, her highly paranoid adult defense systems are going to be completely subverted by the most unlikely demographic imaginable.
This is perhaps one of the most fascinating microdynamics in the whole story. How do the most paranoid, hypervigilant adult defense systems get utterly dismantled by two 5-year-olds?
We will get to the kids in a second, but we have to talk about the digital intrusion first, because it absolutely sets the stage. Jordan is finally feeling safe. The .957 barrier is really working. Jake is a stabilizing force. She is laughing again. She is going out. And then, while she's out at Rookies, wearing a very specific outfit, her phone pings.
From an unknown number.
Unknown number. And there are just 2 words on the screen, looking good.
It is the ultimate psychological terror. A perfectly timed, entirely anonymous message.
That literally made my stomach drop just reading about it.
Because the digital intrusion proves that physical distance is a complete illusion. This is exactly why trauma is so exceptionally difficult to escape in the modern era. I mean, 30 years ago, if you moved to a new city, you were gone.
You were safe.
Today, you can move houses, you can change schools, but a digital device is an invisible, permanent tether right back to your abuser.
The isolation she strictly enforced for 2 years, going private, using JD, it didn't sever the threat at all. It just forced the threat to evolve, to go digital. The stalker's radar is still wildly active.
It is an invisible knife slipping right past Jake's .957 physical barrier. You just cannot body block a text message.
No, you can't. But if the text message is the invisible knife, the universe provides a counterbalance, right? It provides an invisible shield. And the agents of that shield are the edge tentacles.
The edge tentacles, the absolute best intelligence gatherers.
Sean and Carly, these are the 5-year-old kids. Sean is Jordan's little brother, and Carly is Jake's little sister. Now, society conditions us to totally dismiss children. We think they are oblivious. We think they don't understand complex adult dynamics. We talk right over their heads.
But in reality, they act as the most sensitive emotional intelligence gatherers in the entire ecosystem.
Why is that, though? Why do the kids see what the adults completely miss?
Children bypass adult secrecy because they do not operate on the black box contract. They don't understand the complex political ramifications of the sister ban.
They don't care about the rules.
They aren't worried about draft picks or locker room hierarchy. They only operate on raw, unfiltered emotional resonance. They observe pure behavior.
And their observation leads to the turning point of the entire narrative. It's a lazy afternoon, the sun is shining, Jordan and Jake are in the backyard, and they just fall asleep, completely platonically, just lying side by side in a hammock. And the 5-year-olds catch them. The kids see them sleeping peacefully, and they act as the alarm system that something profound has fundamentally shifted.
We have to deeply analyze the phenomenon of the hammock, because this is where the subconscious resonance occurs, and it is vital to understanding actual trauma recovery.
Let's contextualize this for the listener, because I mean, falling asleep doesn't sound like a big deal to a normal person. But for Jordan, it is a literal miracle. Tell him about the nightmares.
Right. For 2 full years, ever since the violent fall down the stairs, Jordan has suffered from horrific, violent night terrors. She wakes up screaming, completely drenched in sweat. Conscious therapy hasn't stopped it. 2 years of time haven't stopped it.
Because her nervous system is permanently locked in a state of high alert.
Exactly. But in that hammock,
In that hammock, in the middle of the day, sleeping next to Jake, her trauma anxiety drops to absolute zero. 0%. For the first time in 24 months, she achieves deep, restorative, completely dreamless sleep.
we really have to ask why. How does a hammock succeed where 2 entire years of therapy failed?
I was thinking about this like a malfunctioning computer firewall.
Yeah.
When you are deeply traumatized, your brain acts like a totally corrupted security system. You flag every single incoming message, every touch, every look, every loud noise as a deadly virus.
Yeah.
You block everything. You reject all connection. But you are completely blind to the fact that your system doesn't need more blocking software. It is literally overheating. It needs a hard reboot.
A hard reboot. I really like that analogy.
You can sit in a therapist's office and logically tell your conscious brain, I am safe. He is gone. You can repeat the mantra all day long. But your nervous system, it needs receipts. It needs hard physical proof.
Yes. The conscious mind can absolutely be lied to, but the subconscious nervous system requires tangible evidence of safety. The subconscious resonance of physical safety, feeling the steady, calm heart rate of a protector like Jake, feeling the physical perimeter he naturally establishes just by being massive and calm, it completely short-circuits the trauma loop.
The invisible shield.
Exactly. The invisible shield of his presence fully neutralizes the invisible knife of her anxiety.
Jake was the physical reboot her nervous system was desperately begging for.
Yeah.
He plugged in, and the corrupted code just instantly stopped running. She finally truly rested.
It is a beautiful moment of healing. But sociologically, it brings us to the absolute most dangerous phase of the entire cycle.
The extreme danger of resting.
Yes, because predators do not attack when you're on guard. They don't attack when you are hypervigilant.
No, they just wait.
Predators wait until you are fully lulled into a false sense of security. They wait until you actually believe you have finally won. They wait until you are deep inside your own sanctuary.
This is exactly where the story shifts into the horrifying reality of weaponized spaces. And listen to me very carefully on this. The most brutal, terrifying ambushes in life do not happen in dark alleys. They happen in the blind spots of your own living room.
The corruption of the home ice.
Let's go back to Rookies, the VIP sports bar. We mentioned earlier that this is owned by Jordan's aunt. This is the beating heart of the closed empire. The hockey team essentially owns the entire second floor. It is the safest, most fiercely protected space imaginable for Jordan.
But every fortress has a flaw. Every castle has a structural weakness.
The crisis blind spot.
Yes. Tommy manages to sneak back into the bar. And note his methodology here. He doesn't aggressively attack her in the middle of the dance floor where everyone can see him. He waits. He studies the architecture. He finds a shadowy blind spot under the stairs, a very specific place where the sight lines from the VIP section above are completely cut off by the angle of the floor. And he strikes.
He pins her against the wall, the exact same wall she has leaned against 100 times, feeling perfectly untouchably safe.
This is exactly how sophisticated predators operate. They don't just violate your body, they corrupt your geography. They take the spaces where your defenses are at their absolute lowest, and they explicitly exploit the architectural blind spots. They ruin the sanctuary.
And it escalates. It doesn't just stop at the bar. It moves from a dark corner to broad daylight to weaponized equipment.
Yeah, the pool party.
There was a pool party at Jake's house, the .957 Barrier's house. It's a sunny day. Friends are absolutely everywhere. People are holding drinks, laughing, and Tommy ambushes her again.
He pushes her into the water. But he doesn't just use his hands to hold her under, he uses the environment.
He literally uses the pool's volleyball net. He pushes her in, and as she wildly struggles, he tangles her in the neon green netting. He wraps it around her limbs so she cannot swim, she cannot kick, she cannot break the surface to breathe. He literally uses a backyard toy to suffocate her.
It is the ultimate perversion of safety. Turning a volleyball net, a tool of play, a brightly colored piece of equipment meant for a game on a warm summer day, into a literal strangulation device. It is a brilliant, horrifying weaponization of her environment.
It totally proves that a physical perimeter is never, ever enough if the pathogen is willing to die to breach it. Jake has to literally dive into the pool and violently rip the net off her to save her life.
The defense has failed. The black box is actively leaking water. The submarine is utterly compromised.
So Jordan comes to a massive realization. She has to execute a complete paradigm shift. She realizes that hiding away at NYU didn't work. Being a digital ghost didn't work. The ironclad sister band definitely didn't work. The .957 barrier, as strong as it is, just cannot be everywhere at once.
She realizes she has to break the black box herself.
Breaking the black box. This is the absolute climax of the sociological experiment we've been tracking today. Jordan decides to stop hiding entirely. She walks directly into the den of the hockey house.
The nerve center.
The nerve center of the empire. The entire team is there. Ryan, Jace, Jake, the new recruits. The room is packed with alpha males, and she doesn't just quietly tell them what is happening.
Telling them wouldn't be enough. She provides irrefutable, completely undeniable evidence.
She takes out her phone, turns the volume all the way up, and she plays Tommy's threatening voicemail out loud for the entire empire to hear. The stalker's voice, the voice of their former brother, echoing right in the heart of their sanctuary.
We really must discuss the sociological power of sunlight here, because this is exactly how you cure a sick group. Private trauma feeds on secrecy. It requires isolation to survive and grow. Abusers heavily rely on the victim's deep shame to maintain the black box contract. They rely on you keeping quiet to protect the group.
But the moment Jordan hits play,
The moment she plays that audio to the collective group, she violently shifts the burden of defense.
it's no longer just her terrifying secret. It's no longer just her problem to manage alone.
Exactly. She moves the massive weight of the trauma from the individual directly onto the collective shoulders of the group. The toxicity that Tommy injected into the empire, the gas in the submarine, is suddenly flushed out into the open air. And here's the truly beautiful thing about human groups. When a healthy group is presented with a clear, undeniable external threat to one of its own, it aggressively heals itself.
I am looking at this entirely through a biological lens. It is exactly like an immune system. Think about how virus operates. Tommy was a virus hiding inside a healthy cell, replicating in the dark, using the cell's own mechanisms to survive totally undetected.
Yeah.
The moment Jordan played that voicemail, she intentionally ruptured the cell wall. She exposed the hidden virus directly to the bloodstream.
And the immune response was instantaneous.
The team acted like millions of white blood cells. They swarmed the infection instantly. They didn't debate it. They permanently neutralized the threat. The body finally recognized the disease that was killing it, and it destroyed it. It triggers what is called the defense alliance.
Instantly, the complex dynamics of the house shift.
The team establishes a 24-hour defense grid around her. They literally rotate watches. They track her locations. And the sister band, that heavy, atrophied cast, obliterated, gone forever. It is completely replaced by an active, unified defense of her and Jake's relationship. They realize that Jake isn't a threat. He is the ultimate shield, and they fortify him.
They actively reconstruct the rules of the empire. The old rule isolation disguised as protection is destroyed. The new rule collective vigilance and open truth completely takes over.
The empire is healed. The submarine is totally purged of gas. The defenses are now absolute and transparent. They've achieved perfect equilibrium.
But the universe is incredibly cruel, and the universe always demands a final test of a perfect system.
Which brings us to the ultimate challenge, the space-time challenge. When time and physical geography threaten to completely rip your newly healed world apart, how do you anchor your freedom?
We are looking at the looming reality of the NHL draft.
This is the harsh reality of elite college sports. The bubble always bursts. Jake is a superstar goalie. Ryan is a star forward. Jace is an elite defenseman. The draft is rapidly approaching. And they are all going to be drafted by completely different professional teams. They face being ripped apart, sent to different cities across North America, a geographical separation of over 90%, thousands of miles apart.
The physical proximity that cured her nightmares, that critical 50-foot gap between their bedroom windows, is about to become 500 miles, or 3,000 miles.
So what happens to her nervous system? Does the trauma return? Do the night terrors come back? Does the newly healed empire immediately collapse without that physical proximity?
This is where we really must synthesize the ultimate takeaway from Alley Ciz's blueprint, because this is the core lesson for the listener. This story isn't just about college hockey. It isn't just a romance novel about a goalie. It is a Mobius strip.
A Mobius strip, an infinite, unbroken loop.
Control and healing infinitely loop into one another. Let's look at the past attempts at control. The brothers tried to control Jordan through the sister band to heal her, and it broke her spirit. Tommy tried to control her through violence to own her, and it severely traumatized her. But Jake and the new Defense Alliance, they built an entirely different kind of structure.
They built an open alliance?
Yes, building an invincible emotional barrier with your community doesn't trap you inside a box. It is the exact mechanism that guarantees your ultimate freedom. When the psychological foundation is finally solid, when the trauma has been exposed to the sunlight and neutralized by the collective group, physical distance no longer equates to dangerous isolation.
Because the .957 barrier isn't just a physical guy standing in a doorway anymore. It's an internalized state of being. Jake can get drafted to Boston, Jordan can stay in New Jersey, and the shield remains perfectly intact because the black box was broken. The secret is out. The trust is absolute.
They moved from a toxic closed-loop empire based entirely on silence to an empowered open network based on truth. The loyalty remains at 100%, but it is based on active choice, not forced isolation.
And this is where we turn it over to you. I really want you to look around at your own life right now. Look at the invisible rules you live by every single day. Look at your so-called safe spaces, the group chats you're in, the unspoken company policies at your job, the rigid family traditions you just blindly uphold, the silent agreements you have with your partner.
You need to deeply audit them.
Seriously, audit them right now. Ask yourself, are those structures actively protecting you? Are they forming a genuine .957 barrier against the chaos of the outside world? Or are you secretly trapped in someone else's empire? Are you suffering from social lock-in but disguising it as loyalty to the group?
Ask yourself if you are wearing a heavy cast on a completely healed arm, letting your own strength wither away just because you are terrified of the memory of the pain.
Sometimes, the only way to find your ultimate freedom is to break the black box. You have to shine a blinding, uncomfortable light on the architectural blind spots in your life. You have to take out your phone, turn the volume up, and play the voicemail out loud to the room. You have to be willing to rupture the cell wall and build a new defense alliance from absolute scratch.
The monsters might have a key to your front door.
But you have the power to change the locks. You just have to realize you're in a cage first. Take that thought with you today. Are you building a shield or are you building a prison? Because when the lights are off, they look exactly the same.